Hey everybody, and welcome back to another Weather with Sim forecast. And in today's forecast, we are going to be talking about a multi-day tornado outbreak that's going to be coming to the United States over the next couple of days, including today, as we will be talking the potential for significant severe weather across much of the central and eastern United States. And I do think Saturday could even be a bigger day compared to today, as we could be seeing an upgrade to a high risk for severe weather, but we will also need to be watching today very closely, as we could still be seeing a low end tornado outbreak across the Midwest and even into the lower Ohio Valley, which we also will need to watch very closely. And then the other thing to keep an eye on, despite the significant severe weather, is going to be winds outside of thunderstorms. Winds outside of thunderstorms could potentially gust as high as 60 miles per hour across much of the Southern Plains, parts of the Midwest, and even into the Ohio Valley by the time we get into the next couple of days, which we will need to watch very closely, as there's even an elevated fire risk down there in the Southern Plains. So make sure to be paying attention, as I do think this is really going to be a big event, which we will go over all that stuff in today's forecast. Let's first start off by going over the threats for severe weather, and you guys can see that we do have a moderate level 4 out of 5 threat for significant severe weather across parts there of Iowa, back down there into eastern Missouri, down there into northeast Arkansas, northwest Tennessee, western Kentucky, and as well as central and southern Illinois will all be at risk for significant severe weather by the time we head into the evening hours today. And one of the biggest things to watch for is for tornadoes. You guys can see that the Storm Prediction Center has really expanded not only the threat for EF2 tornadoes or greater, which would be in this yellow color, but also they upgraded parts of it to now a 15% hatch risk for tornadoes, which now means we could be seeing long track EF2 tornadoes or greater right in this area as it rolls on through. We could be seeing a long track tornado, something like this, if this were to come together. We could even be seeing a couple of them, like I said, if it really ends up going as planned. EF2 tornadoes or greater are possible, and once again, some of which could even be long tracked, which will more than likely develop in this red color, and if they end up getting enough wind shear and moisture, they could potentially head as far east as the edge of this 10% hatch risk, which does include parts there of western Kentucky, western Tennessee, even parts there of southwest Indiana, even down there into central and southern Mississippi, over there into eastern parts, not eastern, but western parts of Alabama, even parts there of northeast Arkansas, and as well as those areas as far north as southeast Iowa will all be at risk for long track EF2 tornadoes or greater. So make sure to have your tornado action plan in place just in case, as I do think this will be a huge day, potentially bringing a tornado outbreak to parts of this area. Then when we look at the wind threat, winds are going to also be the other concern to watch for, if why not the biggest concern, as we do have a much higher chance of seeing damaging winds. We're talking a 45 to 60% chance of seeing damaging winds across central and southern Iowa, eastern Mississippi, even though not eastern Mississippi, western parts there of Illinois, even into parts there of eastern Missouri, central and southern Illinois, even into parts there of western Kentucky, and as well as northwest Tennessee, will all be at risk for some pretty big damaging winds, potentially gusting over hurricane force, especially where you see those black colors with the lines going through it, indicating a chance for hurricane force wind gusts, even outside of the enhanced risk, which even includes Kansas City, even up there towards Mason City, Rockford, Chicago, all those areas still have a shot of seeing winds over hurricane force, so now would be a good time to be paying attention. And then the last thing is large hail, which doesn't look to be the biggest concern, but we could still be seeing some large hail with areas potentially getting as large as 2 inches in diameter, which we will watch closely. And then if we compare that to tomorrow's threat, we do have another big moderate risk for severe weather down here into much of Alabama, panhandle of Florida, back over there into central and southern Mississippi, Mississippi, and even parts there of eastern Louisiana will all be at risk for significant severe weather, with the main concern being those tornadoes, as we do have a widespread 15% hatch risk for long track EF2 tornadoes or greater, with also a chance of seeing widespread damaging winds. And with the hail threat, it appears to be about the same, as large hail may not be the biggest concern, but we still got a chance of seeing some large hail, which we will watch very closely, as I do think tomorrow could not only, bring some really high damaging winds over hurricane force, but also bring the potential for a significant tornado outbreak, potentially record breaking, as people were talking about even the tornado threat even upgrading again, potentially leading to a rare high risk for severe weather. So that will be something to watch for over the next 24 hours before we get into tomorrow. Now, let's talk about why we are seeing such high severe weather threats. And it's kind of crazy to see both today and tomorrow see chances for long track EF2 tornadoes or greater. And you guys can see that with the NAM model showing some really high amounts of significant tornado parameter, even continuing into parts there of western Kentucky, western Tennessee, northern Mississippi, southwest Indiana, even over there into Arkansas, Louisiana. And if we look at where the line of storms is during that time, look at that. Line of storm is going to be right on top of those high-end significant tornado parameters. Look at this. Here, I'm going to go ahead and draw it out so you guys can see a little bit better, but here's the line of storms right here. If we switch that over to the significant tornado parameters, look at that. Line of storms is going to be right on top of those high significant tornado parameters, which does bring a huge concern for potentially long track EF2 tornadoes or greater before even another surge of big significant tornado parameters will roll on through parts there of the Ohio Valley by the time we get into Saturday, as I do think Saturday could be another big day for severe weather. And once again, main focus is going to be down there in the deep south, but I still think we could see some severe weather even getting as far north as parts there in Michigan, with chances for tornadoes. So that will be something to watch for, as I do even think Saturday's threat could very well upgrade in that area, because as of right now, Saturday's threat, if we look at Saturday's threat again, the slight risk only goes up there into Sarnell and Indiana at the farthest, but the NAM model really shows the significant tornado parameters getting a little farther north, so we're going to have to watch this very closely. And then if we compare that to the ARRR model, this is another one I really wanted to look at to show you guys that the ARRR model also shows some very high significant tornado parameters. You guys can see that the highest significant tornado parameters with the line of storms rolling on through Friday night and into early Saturday morning will be right on top of those highest significant tornado parameters once again. So this is going to be something to really watch very closely, as I do think there could even be some isolated supercells embedded in this line of storms as it rolls on through Missouri, bringing chances for widespread 70 to 90 mile per hour winds, and then likely some supercell firing ahead of that line of thunderstorms, which will bring the potential for some long track EF2 tornadoes, potentially even heading into parts there, the lower Ohio Valley, before all those cells then start to organize into a line of storms. And then once all that energy goes out, we will still have some storms around, but they will more than likely be on the weaker side of things. And then our next big severe weather event will likely happen as we get into Saturday, where long track EF2 tornadoes will be likely down here in the deep south, and then up here in the Ohio Valley we could also be seeing a few tornadoes. But from what we're seeing right now, the supercells don't really look to be as big of a concern up here in the Ohio Valley, but there may be a cell or two like this where we may see a few tornadoes, so something to really keep an eye on very closely. Now, the other thing I want to look at is going to be our wind. Winds are going to be a huge concern, as this will lead to elevated fire conditions down there in the Southern Plains. Southern Plains will likely have winds gusting as high as 60 miles per hour. Look at that, 61 miles per hour power right on top of Oklahoma City, 63 miles per hour just to the north there of Tulsa. Look at that, even some 70-mile-per-hour winds developing across New Mexico, Panhandle of Texas. So really something to be keeping an eye on very closely, as the elevated fire risk will be there, guys. Look at this. Elevated fire risk will be there for today. It's going to be for parts there of Texas into Oklahoma. We got an extreme fire risk right across those areas, which means whatever fires we see will likely be widespread. Okay, we're talking widespread wildfires heading into parts there of Texas, Oklahoma, and even up there into parts there of Kansas. Will all have the potential to see widespread fire conditions for today. So I do not recommend burning, as those winds, like I said, are going to be so strong. Whatever fire develops, it will more than likely last forever. So I do not recommend burning out there. Same as we get into tomorrow, as that critical fire risk even continues down there in Texas, but we're also going to have another area up here in Kansas, Oklahoma, and Nebraska to also watch for, which we will watch very closely, as we're going to have some lingering fire conditions. And then those winds will continue to head towards the Ohio Valley, as you can see, with areas of 50-mile-per-hour winds, and that will be right after the elevated fire risk is over, which looks to be later today, where we see those winds really start to pick up. And then after those winds head out, we may see some winds continuing towards the East Coast. As you can see, winds along the East Coast may gust up to 40 miles per hour in some areas, but from what we know so far, though, it is still a little uncertain whether it will be like this or not, but something to really keep an eye on to as well. And then the last thing is our rainfall, as I do expect the rainfall totals to also be pretty plentiful, and we might even see some areas gain up to 5 inches of rainfall, which will be something to keep an eye on very closely, as there's even a 6-inch total right there showing up in Tennessee. And this is mainly because we're going to be seeing a lot of showers and thunderstorms rolling on through during the day on Saturday, and this is what may lead to significant flash flooding. But thank you all so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on all notifications, as we'll be live on this channel later for today during the start of the severe weather event. But keep in mind that I will not be live for all of it, though. You shouldn't, do anything about that, because, like I said, I'm one of those people who can't be live forever, but I will try to be live for it so that way you guys have a good idea on what to expect. So consider doing that if you haven't done that already, and I hope you guys all have a great rest of your Friday out there, and I hope you guys all take this very seriously. Hope to see you guys in the next one. Thank you all so much for watching, and goodbye.